He processed $65 billion a day in illegal transactions. He laundered money for terrorists, drug cartels, and ransomware hackers. The U.S. government caught him. He pleaded guilty. He paid the largest corporate fine in history, $4.3 billion. He served 4 months in prison, 4 months. Today, he's free, and he's still worth $33 billion. This is Changpeng Zhao CZ, the man who proved that when you're rich enough, crime absolutely pays. This is the story of how he built the world's most powerful criminal enterprise and got away with it. Before we talk about the crime, let's talk about the empire. Changpeng Zhao, a Chinese-Canadian programmer, launches Binance, a cryptocurrency exchange. His timing is perfect. Bitcoin is exploding. Everyone wants to trade crypto. And CZ offers something competitors don't: speed, low fees, and 0 questions asked. Binance grows faster than any financial company in history. Within 6 months, it's the world's largest crypto exchange. By 2021, Binance processes $65 billion in daily trading volume. That's more than the New York Stock Exchange on some days. CZ becomes a celebrity. Forbes estimates his net worth at $96 billion at crypto's peak, making him one of the richest people on earth. Richer than Mark Zuckerberg, richer than Warren Buffett. He did it in 4 years. Picture this. A programmer in Shanghai building code in 2017. Watching his exchange grow so fast, even he can't keep up. Millions of users signing up daily, billions flowing through his platform, money from every country on earth. No banks asking questions, no governments interfering, just pure, unregulated financial chaos. That chaos made him the richest person in crypto. But here's what CZ knew, and what he'd later admit in court. Binance wasn't just an exchange, it was a criminal enterprise, and he built it that way on purpose. Binance's entire business model depended on one thing: ignoring the law. While legitimate exchanges like Coinbase verified user identities, blocked sanctioned countries, and reported suspicious transactions, Binance did the opposite. They let anyone trade anything with 0 verification. You could be a terrorist in Iran, a cartel member in Mexico, or a ransomware hacker in North Korea. Binance didn't care. Your money was good, and that's exactly what made them the biggest. Let's be very clear about what Binance did. This wasn't a technical violation. This was deliberate, systematic money laundering on a scale that would make cartels jealous. The U.S. Treasury Department's findings were devastating. Binance processed over $898 million in transactions between U.S. users and users in sanctioned countries: Iran, North Korea, Syria, and Russian-occupied Crimea. That's nearly $1 billion helping America's enemies evade sanctions. Binance allowed Hamas to raise money through their platform. The terrorist organization used Binance to collect donations and fund operations. Even after Binance's own compliance team flagged Hamas accounts, CZ refused to shut them down. Why? Because it would hurt trading volume. Ransomware hackers used Binance to launder their extortion money. When hackers locked up hospital systems, corporate networks, and government databases demanding Bitcoin ransoms, they cashed out through Binance. The platform processed over $275 million in ransomware payments. Russian oligarchs evading sanctions moved billions through Binance. After Russia invaded Ukraine, the US and Europe sanctioned Russian elites. Binance became their escape hatch. Billions in Russian money flowed out of the country through CZ's platform. And here's the truly evil part. CZ's own compliance officers begged him to fix this. Internal messages, later revealed in court, show Binance employees warning leadership that they were breaking the law. They identified terrorist accounts. They flagged cartel money. They reported ransomware transactions. CZ's response? He told them to ignore it. In one leaked internal message, a Binance executive joked about their users being criminals. If our users are in sanctioned countries, we know. We just don't care. Another message from a compliance officer: we need a banner. Is washing drug money too hard? Come to Binance. They knew. They joked about it, and they kept doing it. Why? Because crime was profitable. Binance made $20 billion in revenue in 2021 alone. CZ personally owned 90% of the company. Every dollar Binance made in blood money went into his pocket. The strategy was simple: grow so big, so fast, in so many countries that no single government could shut them down. Binance operated without headquarters, no official location. Servers everywhere, staff working remotely from dozens of countries. If one government came after them, they'd just move. CZ called it regulatory arbitrage. Prosecutors called it deliberately evading law enforcement. And for years it worked. Binance became untouchable, too big to shut down, too global to regulate, too profitable to stop, until the US government decided CZ had crossed too many lines. November 21st, 2023. The US Department of Justice holds a press conference that shakes the crypto world. US Attorney General Merrick Garland announces Binance and Changpeng Zhao are pleading guilty to criminal charges. The charges: violating the Bank Secrecy Act, operating an unlicensed money transmitter, and breaking US sanctions laws. The penalties are staggering. Binance agrees to pay $4.3 billion in fines, the largest corporate penalty in US history. CZ personally pays $50 million and steps down as CEO, and he agrees to serve time in federal prison. This is the moment CZ's empire crashes. Bitcoin drops 5% in minutes. Billions in market cap evaporate. Crypto Twitter erupts. Some call it justice, others call it government overreach. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Because CZ didn't fight. He pleaded guilty immediately. Why? Because he made a deal. The US government could have destroyed Binance. They could have seized all assets, shut down the platform, and thrown CZ in prison for 10 plus years. Instead, they made a calculation. Binance is too big to fail. Shutting it down would crash the entire crypto market, destroying billions in value for millions of innocent users. So they offered CZ a deal: plead guilty, pay the fine, serve a short sentence, step down as CEO, but keep your money, keep your freedom, and Binance stays operational. CZ took the deal instantly. April 30th, 2024, CZ is sentenced. The prosecution asks for 3 years in prison. CZ's lawyers argue he's not a flight risk. He cooperated, and he's a family man. The judge sentences him to 4 months. 4 months for laundering billions. 4 months for funding terrorism. 4 months for violating sanctions against America's enemies. The judge's reasoning? CZ didn't personally benefit from the crimes, except for the fact that he made tens of billions and owned 90% of the company built on those crimes. But sure, he didn't personally benefit. CZ serves his time at FC Lompoc 2, a low-security federal prison in California. It's essentially a white-collar resort. No violence, tennis courts, decent food, minimum security. He spends his days reading, exercising, and planning his comeback. September 27th, 2024. After serving 4 months, CZ walks free. He posts on Twitter, humbled by the support, ready for the next chapter. His followers cheer. Crypto influencers welcome him back. And the world moves on. But here's what nobody's talking about. CZ is still worth $33 billion. He still owns 90% of Binance. The company is still operating, still processing billions daily, still making money. CZ just has to stay away from day-to-day operations for a few years. He paid $4.3 billion, which sounds like a lot, but Binance made $20 billion in 2021 alone. That fine was less than 3 months of revenue. It was a rounding error, a cost of doing business, and CZ kept everything else: the yachts, the private jets, the real estate, the billions in crypto holdings. All of it, completely untouched. So let's talk about what this really means. Because CZ's story isn't just about one man. It's about a system that treats the rich and the poor very, very differently. Compare CZ's 4-month sentence to these cases. Ross Ulbricht created Silk Road, a dark web marketplace, never personally sold drugs or committed violence, sentenced to life in prison without parole, still in prison today after 11 years. Reality winner, leaked a single classified document to journalists revealing Russian election interference. Sentenced to 5 years and 3 months, served nearly 4 years in prison. Average drug offender. In federal prison, the average sentence for a drug trafficking offense is 5+ years. For context, CZ laundered money for drug cartels at industrial scale. He served 4 months. Average fraud offender. White-collar criminals who steal millions typically serve 3 to 7 years. CZ facilitated billions in illegal transactions. 4 months. The message is clear. If you steal a little, you go to prison. If you steal billions, you pay a fine and take a vacation. CZ is now living in Dubai, one of the few places where he can live comfortably without extradition risk. He's still a celebrity in crypto. He's investing in new startups. He's giving interviews about his lessons learned. He's posting motivational content on social media. Binance, meanwhile, is thriving. New CEO Richard Tang has kept the business growing. Trading volumes remain massive. The company is still the world's largest exchange. And CZ still owns 90% of it, meaning every dollar Binance makes flows to the man who built a criminal enterprise. The US government accomplished nothing. They collected a fine, a fraction of Binance's profits, and let the company continue operating. CZ faced no real consequences. 4 months is not justice, it's a joke. And here's the truly disturbing part. CZ's case sets a precedent. It tells every tech founder, every crypto entrepreneur, every ambitious CEO, you can break the law at massive scale. You can enable terrorism, evade sanctions, and launder billions. And if you grow big enough, fast enough, you become too important to truly punish. The government will take your money, a cut of the profits you made through crime, and let you keep the rest. You'll serve a token sentence in a minimum security resort. Then you'll go back to being a billionaire. This is the deal Silicon Valley has figured out. Crime pays as long as you commit it at scale. Small-time criminals go to real prison, but billion-dollar criminals, they pay a fine and move on. CZ proved that the system protects the rich, that too big to fail also means too big to prosecute, that there are two justice systems, one for people like Ross Ulbricht and one for people like Changpeng Zhao, and he's laughing all the way to his $33 billion bank account. What's the founder's code we decode from CZ's $4.3 billion crime spree? Lesson 1. Too big to fail equals too big to prosecute. If your company becomes critical infrastructure, governments won't shut you down no matter what crimes you commit. They'll fine you and let you continue. Scale is immunity. Lesson 2. Corporate fines are just business expenses. $4.3 billion sounds massive, but for a company making $20 billion a year, it's a 20% tax on crime. Not a deterrent, just the cost of doing business. Lesson 3. There are two justice systems. Poor people go to real prison for decades. Rich people go to minimum security resorts for months. The law punishes poverty, not crime. If you're going to break the law, do it at the billion-dollar level. Lesson 4. Own equity, not salary. CZ could pay $4.3 billion in fines and still be worth $33 billion because he owned 90% of Binance. Equity ownership means you keep wealth even when you pay massive penalties. Ownership is everything. CZ's story isn't a cautionary tale, it's a blueprint. For anyone ambitious enough to break the rules at scale, his message is clear. Crime pays. Just make sure you're rich enough when you get caught. What do you think? Is CZ a criminal who got away with it, or a visionary who played the game smarter than everyone else? Should the US have shut down Binance completely? Drop your thoughts below. This one's going to be controversial. Like this video if you believe the justice system protects the rich. Share this with someone who still thinks crime doesn't pay. And subscribe to Founders Code for more stories about the money, power, and privilege the system doesn't want you to understand. Thanks for watching.